And I will.
Absolutely, I will. Today's
Okay.
guest is someone whose work sits right at the intersection of everything we talk about on this podcast. It's the mind, it's the body, and what it takes to actually heal. Lisa Rigo is a licensed clinical social worker with over 20 years in private practice, offices in Manhattan, New York. Her work centers on something she describes beautifully, the idea that we are not here just to survive difficult experiences, but to transform them, to move from survival to actually living presently, fully, and richly. Lisa specializes in trauma and PTSD, depression and anxiety, addiction and recovery, and she brings deep personal expertise to her work with the LGBTQ community. She's trained in EMDR, a powerful research backed therapy that helps the body process and release what the mind alone can't always reach, as well as sensory motor psychotherapy, which works at the intersection of neuroscience and healing. But most importantly, what I personally love about Lisa's approach is that she doesn't believe that one size fits all, which is exactly how our coaching methodology operates. She meets each person where they are with curiosity and without judgment. And her whole philosophy is built around the idea that really real healing happens when you feel safe enough to be fully seen. I've probably used that phrase a million times with our coaching. So it definitely resonates. This is exactly the kind of conversation we're about to have. Lisa, welcome to the Monday Morning Mindset Shift.
Jamie, thank you for having me. As you were talking, I'm like, who is she talking about?
Ah, that's
Who is that
you,
woman that she's
you
talking
rock
about?
star. I know
Wow,
it's crazy when
she
someone else
sounds good,
describes. I know, I'd want to have her on my podcast. No, I think it's crazy when you
right?
hear externally all the shit you've done and you're like, holy crap, I need to stop being so hard on myself.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, well, that's not where I go. But it's sort of like, who is she talking about? Like, oh,
mm,
I'm pretending to be all of these things, right?
yeah,
But, I haven't internalized that, right? So I haven't fully internalized that. So you're holding up a mirror
there you
for
go.
me
Oh my God. I
based
mean, we could,
on, you know,
yeah,
what what you
we
know about me.
we
And
could
we've never
go.
met. We've never had a proper cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Um, I found you on Instagram in a middle of the night doom scroll, and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, those are cute women. I'm a lesbian over 50. Like,
Done.
let me hop on board, right?
Yep.
This resonated so deeply with me. But what I realized when I signed up was that the part of me that was signing up was like, yeah, you need to do this. You need to get to your body in shape. These women are adorable. They're doing amazing work. They're talking about the nervous system. They just got married. Woo, that's so exciting and wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to be with these women. So that's like my attached reach. Like, where are my people?
I
Right?
appreciate it.
Where
Yeah.
are my
Yeah.
people?
Yep. And we got you
Right?
and
And
you were
I
paired with
love
the
that.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and Katie's amazing, Kate.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing.
Thank
Do
you.
you ever call her Katie or is it just Kate?
Sometimes if I'm trying to get her attention, but not typically. It's just babe,
Okay.
penguin, or like, whatever.
Okay.
We have our nicknames. So,
Her penguin. I don't want to
um,
confuse things.
yeah.
But this is really important. This is
Yeah.
really important. The part of me that reached
Mm.
wasn't the wise part of me that is really interested in in doing this part of my work
So let's talk about that. What
in
do you
terms
mean
of
parts? Because
self-love.
someone's listening and they're like, "What do you mean? You are Lisa. What parts are we
Okay.
referring to?"
Okay. That's a really good question. So I'm going to really make this simple because sometimes I have clients that come in and they're like, I just can't get motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I joined the gym, I have a trainer, half the time I sleep through it. And then I feel shitty because I missed my workout. And then I go to McDonald's drive through and then I order my quarter pounder with cheese. And then I feel
Uh-huh.
like shit. And then I'm
Right.
afraid to call her because I missed. So, that somebody relates to this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
From a trauma informed perspective, and I'm not suggesting that all of your clients have complex trauma, and I'm not overusing the word trauma,
Right.
but for those folks who've had attachment trauma coupled with big T trauma over a extended period of time or a sustainable period of time, what ends up happening is in order to survive, that person has to fragment.
Mm.
So there's left brain, right brain.
Yep.
Left brain, getting along with life. Got to go to work, got to pay the bills, got to feed the dogs and the cats and the kids. This is the part that's frontal lobes. What do I need to do today? Check, 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 check.
Yeah.
That's getting along with life. Then right brain, we have all these little traumatized parts that never got fully addressed and didn't get what they needed developmentally.
Right.
Those parts end up splitting into different parts. And that doesn't mean DID, that doesn't mean multiple personality disorder. It's a
Right.
survival strategy.
It's
So young
compartmentalizing.
attached
Yeah.
reach, it's
Yeah.
compartmentalizing a little bit more than compartmentalizing, it's a little fragmentation, right?
Right. Yep. Yep.
So there's sort of that young attached reach that reached for you and Kate, oh, I want to be close to you, right?
Right.
And then there could be like another part that's compliant, right? Oh, I'm going to
Ah.
do everything that my coach tells me to do.
Yeah.
And that was me a couple of weeks ago with Kate. I'm doing
I'm
great,
ready.
aren't
I'm
I? I'm
good.
doing great. I'm ready, right? And she
Yeah.
and she wisely said, "Hey, slow down."
Ah. Yeah.
Because right.
Yeah.
So she picked up on it, right? So there's the compliant part, and there's also like a freeze part, a part that gets locked in and
Yeah.
doesn't know how to move, which is not laziness, it's a mobilization.
Mm-hmm.
Could be that working out or being in your body triggers that kind of trauma response, even,
Okay.
especially if you've had sexual assault or anything that compromised your body integrity.
Yeah.
Fight, flight, addictive part. I'm a recover. I had an eating disorder when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly switched over to cocaine as soon as I found cocaine. Right.
Yeah.
Those are fight, flight parts. Leave me alone. I'm going to self-soothe. I just want to like do a couple of lines of cocaine. I just want to eat that cake and
Right.
disappear. You
Okay.
can't stop me.
This is true.
So that part, when that part hijacks the system, it can look like laziness. It could look like a lack of determination or a lack of motivation or desire, but actually it's a hijack from a part.
So then my follow-up question, Lisa, especially for our clients, because I'm sure they are not even our clients, maybe just people listening who are not yet clients, and they feel that fragmentation. They're like, yeah, I'd really like to reach out to the filers, or I'd really like to literally start anything, right? Because this doesn't just apply to the fitness journey. I really want to start something, but I don't know. I'm this other part of me is making a shit ton of excuses because I'm scared of failure.
Yep.
Two follow-up questions. The first one, how do you, if we're looking at this like an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you hate your check-in chart, so we can talk about Excel spreadsheets. You have this in one column, you have a fragment, a part in one column. How do
Yep.
you merge the cells, Lisa? How do we get
Okay.
on board with
Here's
this?
the deal.
Yeah.
It's a great question. Before you can integrate, you have to unblend.
Okay.
So unblending is a process, very simple. So this is, I'm going to use myself as an example,
Yeah.
right? So, oh, you know, um, I sent an email to Kate last week and I did what I was supposed to do, sent it off, didn't hear back. If that were a work situation, I'd be like, why? I would check. It was in my outbox. It never went.
Right. There it
It
is.
never,
Right.
you never
She
received
never
it, right?
received it. Right. So it's not that she didn't respond, is that she didn't receive it and you
No,
didn't think to follow up.
I didn't think to follow up.
Yeah.
So, but the hijack from a part. Okay, so sometimes this will happen to me. I'm in my office, shit's going down. I don't have the capacity. I will get in my car and I will go to McDonald's and I will do a McDonald's drive-through run.
Okay.
Once a month, this happens, right? It's
Okay.
not on my list of, I would probably lie about that. But
Haha.
full transparency and being
No,
honest,
no, appreciate that.
unblending is like, hey, wait a minute, pause
Mhm.
before I leave my office. Pause. What part of me is
Hey,
uncomfortable right
there it
now?
is. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Just
Okay.
ask the question. It's
Yeah.
not all of you. What part of me wants to? I worked out this morning. I sent off my food chart to
Yep.
Kate. It's now 3 hours later, and I'm gonna do a McDonald's drive-through run.
Yeah.
Pause.
Right.
What part of me is uncomfortable?
Yeah.
What part of me is anxious?
Right.
What part of me wants to, what function does that part serve? Does it
Mm-hmm.
want to sabotage me? Does it want to leave me in a place where I feel shitty about myself?
Yeah.
Are feelings coming up because I'm taking care of myself that I want to push down? Right? Because that's a protector part. Fight, flight, protector.
Yeah.
Go for the food.
Right. So
You
Lisa,
love quarter pounders with cheese. Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, but what you are essentially describing is the habit loop. You've got the cue, which is your impulse, your trigger, your the activator. Then there's the routine. What do I do? And then you've got the reward. Okay, phew, I've calmed myself down. So what you're asking of people or telling people, and in your practice, healing people with, is the mindful pause in between the cue and the routine. If I
Yeah.
can just take this second to what you refer to as unblend,
Yeah.
then we're creating a new routine, different reward, new behaviors that you do want.
Exactly. And that is actually changing the neuroplasticity in the brain,
Exactly.
as you
And because the
know.
more times you
So,
change that loop, the easier, right. The routine is not the
right,
same. Yeah. Okay, great.
right,
As
right. What I do,
yeah.
one question. I just,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Um, what I will do sometimes is
Mm,
I will sit on the floor. If I
okay.
feel an urge for
Yeah.
something that's not good for me, this is so simple. And
Okay.
I've resisted the simple things forever. But if you're on the floor,
Literally
you can't
grounded.
go to McDonald's.
Kind of
Like, just
like
sit
literally
down on the
grounded. Yeah.
floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Like, if you're walking and pausing, you're not pausing.
Oh, right. Okay. Literally. Yeah. Okay.
Sit
So
your ass on the floor.
so
Yep.
you're almost like creating more friction between you and the negative. Well, I don't want to call it negative. The thing that doesn't get you to the thing that you want,
It's
right?
adaptive.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Such a great, like, immediately. That's so fun. Okay.
It's
Perfect.
fun. And,
Yeah.
it's so simple.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we're in our heads. We
Hmm.
just don't think simple. We
Yeah.
think, we've got to solve this problem in our heads.
Yeah.
We don't solve, most problems in our heads
Yeah.
if our frontal lobes aren't fully engaged.
Yep. Oh, I love
And our
that. Okay.
frontal lobes cannot be engaged if we're not in our windows of tolerance. And most of us are either up here or we're
Yep.
down here.
Tell
We're
me about
not.
the window of tolerance. I've never heard that expression before.
Yeah, yeah. I have got to remember who started it, but
Okay.
it's become commonplace. So I can send you the chart.
Yeah,
The
please.
window of tolerance,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Hyper arousal is on the upper end.
Okay.
Hyper,
Yeah.
adrenaline, go, 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 run, do, upregulating, anxious, 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 hyper
Ha.
arousal.
Okay.
This is the autonomic nervous system, right?
Yep.
So we either are firing up,
Uh-huh.
or the bottom part of that is hypoarousal. The parasympathetic nervous system
Yeah.
kicks in,
Okay.
takes us to
Yeah.
collapse. Ideally, we want to be somewhere in the middle where we can think and feel at the same time.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the Yerkes Dodson bell curve where there's
Yes,
you've got eustress and de-stress, but like a normal amount of
yes,
stress is just enough. Okay, I know that one. Perfect. Okay, great.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
totally. Different model, but the same exact
Yep.
principle,
Yep. Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
I actually give my clients a window tolerance chart and I
So
ask them to
yeah,
chart where are you in your
on
window?
the
Because
continuum.
for those
Yeah.
of us who idle high,
Hmm.
and you and I idle high, I think
We
we're in the
do a little bit.
hyperarousal
We're
camp.
fine. Yeah.
Right, right. And that's fine as long
Yeah.
as we're not over it, right?
Right, because then we
Because
burn
if
out or we
if you
shut down.
right, or we're on the edge and we
Hmm.
don't know we're on our edge because that's our normal. And
Yeah.
then, our wife looks at us funny, we're like, what the hell? Because
Yes.
then we're quick to agitate because our nervous system is already up here. Those
Yeah.
who are in hypoarousal, and I think this is some of the folks that you also see,
Yep.
they go to collapse.
Yeah.
And this is when it looks like laziness, but really their
It's
parasympathetic nervous systems are keeping them low so that they
yeah.
don't get hurt.
So that brings me to the question, someone who is high functioning on the outside, right? Maybe we know we're on the cusp, but other people can't tell we're on the cusp because we're running successful
Mhm.
businesses. We have successful relationships. You've got a thriving social life, right? Why does it eventually show up as weight gain, fatigue, physical breakdown? Like, how does one
Mhm.
make that leap into the physical from the mental
Yeah.
or emotional?
Yeah. I think that what happens for a lot of women in addition to the hormonal changes that occur
Hmm.
during perimenopause and menopause, there's that
Yeah.
piece. Um, and I think that, in my experience, I don't mean to overgeneralize, that women historically, are in roles where they need to take care of other people.
Hmm.
We grew up in a culture, where women, the standards for women in terms of beauty
Hmm.
and fitness are extraordinary. And then you have a lot of, I'll just be frank, I have a lot of people in my life, I hope they're not listening, older lesbians
Yeah.
who just like they all have, they're just not taking care of themselves. And they
Yeah.
kind of came of age at a time when ascribing to norms of femininity,
Right. They're like, fuck what
were
everyone else
shunned.
wants me to look
Fuck
like. I'm
that.
gonna cut my hair
I'm gonna
short.
do
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Right. And I
Yeah.
also think that women get too comfortable, or
Hmm.
they don't, if you have a history of not loving yourself,
Yeah.
if you have a history of abdicating your needs for
Other
somebody
people.
else's,
Sure.
so a lot of us, I think, are wired that way and we're
Hmm.
conditioned. And there's also the generational trauma that I think gets rolled into this.
For
What
sure.
is
It
what
gets
does it mean
carried.
to be a gay woman in your 50s or 60s?
Yeah.
What are you carrying with you, that doesn't even belong to you, that shows up in your gut,
Right.
right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of women just give up. They just
Okay.
give up and they're in
Or they don't
partnerships and
start,
maybe
one
there's,
or the other.
or they don't start,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
see this a lot, and people end up surviving, and just not experiencing the kind of joy and not really fully connecting with themselves in a way that is authentic and playful and creative because they're in this armored body,
Yeah.
that doesn't want to give, that doesn't want to lose,
Yeah.
that protection.
So, Lisa, I want you to
It
put
becomes
your,
part of one's
of course.
identity.
Yeah, yeah. So I want you to pretend like you're half Lisa, half Jamie, and put on your coaching hat, your personal trainer hat. Where would someone begin when it comes to either movement or nutrition in taking that armor off? How would you approach that? I don't want to call it a problem, but like, how would you approach that problem from my perspective?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. And some of what we do has so much overlap.
Mm,
And I think you do an extraordinary job of meeting people where they're at
thank
based on
you.
what I've seen.
Thank you.
So you're doing great.
Appreciate that.
I might, not that you're a psychologist, but I might talk a little bit about trauma
Okay.
or the complexities of trauma. And I would ask, a client who maybe, I always ask, when I have
Yeah.
clients who are dissociative, who are, stuck, it's like, is there, are you aware that there might be like a part of you? Does this feel like all of you? Because you're here and you're paying me money and, you're saying all the, like, what part of you is
Yeah.
here?
Right. Yeah.
And what parts didn't even get out of bed this morning?
Yeah. Yeah.
Introducing the language of parts engenders curiosity.
Hmm.
Like, gee, maybe this isn't all of me
Yeah.
because I'm spending all this money and I'm half-assing it here, but I'm overworking here and I feel like shit over here
Right.
and the numbers aren't moving on the scale. So maybe it's a parts affair. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a part of me that doesn't want me to have this good stuff because that registers as danger. Or
Right.
maybe there's a part of me that doesn't feel like I deserve it. Or if I take off that weight, maybe I'll start getting attention and I'll
In
go
the
back to
past
that place
attention.
that I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So
So curiosity is key.
what is the difference? And I apologize if this is uh
No,
I guess an offensive question. What is the
no.
difference between parts work and the internal family systems?
Okay. Um, Parts work for me is a little bit more nuanced. So
Okay.
um, there are the person that comes to mind, she's my like hero in the world of trauma. Her name is Janina Fisher.
Okay.
And she does trauma informed stabilization therapy and she works with dissociation in parts. So this is her wheelhouse.
Sure.
Internal family systems was developed by Richard Schwartz.
Hmm.
Um, it was never intended to be a model for trauma,
Interesting. Okay. I did
turned
not know
into
that. Yeah,
one.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It didn't
Yep.
start that way.
Yeah.
So, internal family systems, from my perspective, and hey, whatever works,
Sure. Yeah, at the
and there
end
are
of the day,
people that
yeah.
are into it, right? So this is not a diss, on
Yeah.
internal family systems, but I hear internal family systems like, oh, firefighters, managers, exiles, ah. it feels too corporate. It feels unrelatable to me.
Yeah.
I can't, and then I'm thinking, what part is this, an exile? Is this a manager? The model doesn't speak to me, and it was never intended to treat
Trauma.
complex
Interesting.
trauma.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
like
But
that. Okay, because
you,
sometimes
you've
I
had.
will use that with our clients. Again, obviously huge
Mm,
caveat or like disclaimer is that I'm not even a life coach, let alone a license to anything, but I've read the
yeah.
book. So I said, hey, just real quick, put each part in a chair and who's talking to who in the family reunion, right? And that's like all I will give people. But your parts version is like that because it makes so much more sense. Yeah. They just don't relate
Well,
it
it's
back to,
organic. It's like,
yeah,
and you can do this in the office, right? Like, who's here?
right.
Who showed up for the training?
Yeah. So great. So,
Who's
so great.
who's it sitting at home waiting when you come back to
Yeah.
reward you with that pint of Haagen-Dazs?
Yeah.
Like,
Hey,
and
yeah.
not,
Yeah.
and not every client, but you're very intuitive. So you probably have a sense that you know enough about the clients. Oh, wow. Yeah, she's been through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
So,
there's, and most women I know have been through a lot.
for sure. Just from I always say this when people are like, oh my God, you're a gay Jew. And I'm like, I have so many strikes against me, honey. The right, like the minorities start with a chip on their shoulders. We got female gay Jew. Anyway, um, you mentioned a couple of times no, I was gonna say off record, offline about using yourself as a case study. You're coming out with a memoir. I'm so fucking excited for it. But in the time we have left, I want you to do a case study on yourself, Lisa, because like you said, you were a perfect example of this woman who's so painfully self-aware of her parts that she's been in the program for like a month and has done one check-in and has barely interacted with her coach. So I want you to like metacognition. I want you to
Yeah.
10,000 foot view. I want you to diagnose Lisa and what I'm supposed to fucking do with her.
Okay. All right. In 10 seconds.
No,
Let
no,
me
no.
see
I
if I
said
can
we no,
do
no, no,
this.
10 minutes, 10 minutes, like 5 minutes, whatever you want, however
Oh,
long it's going to take.
I
But
see.
I've got so
I
many,
wanted 10 seconds.
that's a lot of pressure. But we have so many Lisas, right? Like we said at the beginning of this call, we have so many Lisas who are like, I want to work with these women because I like their energy, but I don't know that the part of me who needs to do the work wants to do the work. So I want you to give
Right.
me, right? Give it to me.
Okay. So self-awareness is a bitch
Mhm.
because
Ha.
you can have all the awareness in the world,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to use that awareness, to get the things that you say you want
Yeah.
or you believe you want for
Yep.
yourself, right? So, I'm a textbook. There's nothing special about me in terms
Yeah.
of this um, sort of
Like endeavor.
landscape,
Yeah.
landscape,
Okay.
right? So my landscape, so I certainly have a lot of complex PTSD in my history.
Mhm.
And part of what happens for me, even today, is that I don't really, the parts of me that run the show oftentimes don't give a shit
Yeah.
about other parts that
Yeah.
need attention, care, right? So I have some parts that reach. I'll reach for you. I'll reach for Kate. Oh, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm doing good, right? Or I'll go to my therapist and I'll look for her,
Yeah.
to sort of, right,
Yeah.
right. Um, so I think that part of the challenge for me is befriending and attending my young parts, that I
Yeah.
really, the parts of me that drive my car, protect those parts. They're like, you guys stay in the closet.
Yeah.
You guys stay here. I got
Yeah.
this, right? And I've been able to do with my dismissive, avoidant, hardworking, you know, internal driver self, I've been able to achieve a lot of success in my field. But my inner world
Right.
is not always reflected in my outer world,
Yeah.
because my challenge is not dismissing the parts of me, those vulnerable parts, that if I really want success, I got to
You
call
got to
myself
address them.
out.
Yeah,
I
for
have got
sure.
to. Vulnerability is not weakness. We know this,
Yeah.
but we are taught that feelings, most of us are taught, feelings are bad. or given all kinds of messaging that keeps us in shame
Mm-hmm.
or keeps us isolated and not wanting to share and not wanting to experience our feelings with other people because it's too dangerous.
Right.
Today, it's more dangerous to go to McDonald's 5 days a week than to have a good cry. But that old wiring is
Yeah.
still there. Those old patterns don't go away. To your point, habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is why 12-step works so well for some people. New habits, good orderly direction, whether you call it God or, good orderly
I
direction.
love that.
Like you
Okay.
need that structure and you need accountability. And
Yeah.
more and more these days, I'm reaching for that wise self that knows what she
Yep.
knows,
Yep.
right? And
Yeah.
for everybody to find that wise self in themselves, because everybody has a wise self, which doesn't mean you have a PhD in anything, right?
Yeah.
I can have 100 degrees and it's not going to get me out of the shit that I'm in now.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right. That's
about tapping into that core place of knowing and
yeah.
feeling like there's a place inside of me that I want to call home.
Yeah. So, what is a good place for people to start, Lisa, when it comes to identifying? I remember from my own therapy session, specifically last year, when she'd say, as soon as you feel that thing, right? As soon as you get the cue, her version of sitting on the floor was grab a piece of paper and you write down every part. So, the angry part, the guilty part, the shameful part.
Mhm.
What else was there? They're like frustrated. Okay, great. So take the feelings wheel. So that was her version. Your version is sitting on the ground. What's something that someone can start with if they're like, I lack self-awareness, which is why I'm here in the first place.
Uh-huh. Curiosity. Curiosity.
Okay. In
Why do you
terms of,
lack self-awareness?
yeah. Okay. So even starting, yeah,
What's that
got it.
about?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
get curious about that? Because if
Yeah.
someone is blocking self-awareness, it means they're afraid to look at something,
Wow. Right. Of course.
right?
Yeah. It's not that they don't have the
Right?
skill.
I
They're
don't
just,
know.
yeah.
I
I
don't
like that.
know.
Get
I'm not
curious
paying
rather than
attention. Why not?
shame. Yeah. Yeah. I
Right?
love that.
Let's get curious about that.
Yeah.
And sitting on the floor and what your therapist is doing with you is great. But I find sometimes that when I'm dysregulated, my frontal lobes, my limbic system is in charge, not my
Yeah.
frontal lobes.
Right.
My limbic system wants to take me to the Upper West Side for cocaine,
Ah, yeah.
or it wants to take me to McDonald's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That
because that
speedy
limbic system
dopamine.
is
Let's
conditioned.
go. Yeah.
Dopamine,
Right.
right? I need it.
Yeah.
I need it now, right?
Yeah.
So the frontal lobes aren't really working.
Yeah.
So for me, getting on the floor and doing some somatic resourcing, if you're on the floor, you don't need your brain to think about what am I feeling? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Which is fine if that works for you. But
Yeah.
for some people, it's like, I don't even know how I feel,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting on the freaking floor.
Yeah.
Ground, breathe.
Yeah.
Notice what it's like to be on the floor. Do 5 sense perceptions. Anything that's going to keep you on the ground long enough for the thought to pass, because it always passes.
Always. Yeah. Yeah. It flows like water. I got you. So give me, let's call it because
Mhm.
there's we're gonna need
Yeah.
a part two because this was a lot in a good
Yeah.
way. This was a
Yeah.
lot. I hope, yeah, you guys are gonna have to listen to this more than once. I want you to give me, I'm gonna change it up on you. Lisa, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in working with us over the last month?
Well, a communication from a part is I'm a fucking loser. I'm fraud. I'm a loser and a fraud. That
Hey,
is a communication from one part of me.
yeah,
Okay. Because
yeah,
that part of me is like, big fucking F. These women are probably talking about you behind your back. Oh, she looks so well put together, but she can't even respond to an email. What's up
hey,
with her?
yeah.
If I don't have a story, that's my story. That
Wow.
is my shame story. I
Okay.
will attach everything to that story because that's where my mind goes,
And that's
right?
something you did not know about yourself prior to working with us.
I knew it, but
Yeah.
I did not think that it would play out. So that's the other thing. I have
Interesting.
self-awareness, but I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, fuck, I'm doing it again."
Uh,
And these women are so great. They're not rejecting me. They're
right.
mirroring back. It's okay. We got you. We got this. And then, like, so it's not like I'm in an environment that's not nurturing.
Yeah.
I'm reenacting something old, and I'm
Yep.
and I'm making up a story that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this podcast or whatever, with this conversation that we're having, I'm
Yeah.
calling myself out because I need my wise self to step in and say, yeah, you didn't just sign on with these women because they're gay and they're beautiful and they're doing something cool and you want to jump on board. You
Right.
know, you've been thinking about working out and getting in shape and you saw something in them that spoke to you.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that. And if
Neat.
something feels too big, make it fucking smaller, but don't not do it. And for the part of me
That
that wants to
one.
stay to that old story,
Yeah.
like, talk back to that part. You don't know what you're talking about. Thank you for doing your job.
Mm.
I appreciate your service.
But get in the
Stand
back
back,
seat.
stand
I'm
down.
driving. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Right? We're not
Yeah.
going to McDonald's today.
Yeah. Not today. We're not going to the Upper West Side for cocaine, and we're not going to McDonald's. Lisa, you're amazing.
Just say
We
no.
love working with you. You're the
Jamie,
best.
thank you. And I'm going to do better, I promise. This is
Don't tell me,
actually
tell your
part of,
coach, baby. I don't need to hear it. I don't, you're great in my books, but Katie, yeah, she needs you.
I don't know. I got to answer to her.
Ah, all
All
right, my
right.
friend.
Fair
Have
enough.
a
Take
beautiful rest
care.
of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for this time. Be
My
well.
pleasure. Bye.